You know that saying, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck? Well, in today's report, that duck is BC Premier John Horgan. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and I'm sure you've already heard the rather inconsiderate news. John Horgan has called a snap election right in the middle of what he calls a pandemic. And get this, he actually expects British Columbians to believe it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he has been ranking so high in popularity polls like this one from the Angus Reid Institute. You see Horgan sitting pretty there, ranking better than, every other premier in the entire country. But oh no, this has played no factor at all in why we in BC have now been tasked with shifting our thoughts from things like, are my kids settling into the government's new school norms, or are we heading into another lockdown, or when will I be allowed to go back to work, to now having been given just over a month to decide on who to vote for in the next provincial election, which will be held October 24th.
Today, John Horgan chose politics over people.
But motives behind why the snap election was called are not the only things that has some people looking at Horgan sideways. It appears Horgan also wants us to believe that the Oprah Winfrey style platform that promises to give almost everything away for free to almost anybody has nothing to do with the attempt to buy our votes.
You get a car! You get a car!
One example of this from the BC NDP platform initiatives is Horgan's promise to pay $1,000 of cold hard cash to BC families and $500 to BC singles. The Vancouver Sun quoted Horgan's justifications to give the cash away, stating, "We want British Columbians to know that we're not just throwing money to try and buy votes," adding that the NDP is throwing money at people to stimulate economic activity. Well, at least he acknowledged that they would be throwing money at people should they win. But Horgan, if this decision has absolutely nothing to do with swaying the vote of British Columbians, then why do we have to wait for you to win the election to receive it? In another Vancouver Sun report, BC Liberal Jas Johal framed a possible answer to this question rather logically after Horgan announced the government's economic recovery plan mid-September without any mention of giving the $500 to $1,000 to British Columbians. Johal felt that making people wait for financial aid so that it becomes part of the NDP's election platform in a snap election is unconscionable. A CBC report details that the $1,000 recovery benefit would apply to families whose household income is under $125,000 per year, with reduced amounts for families making up to $175,000, and it would also give $500 to single people making under $62,000, additionally reducing the rate for single people who make less than $87,000 per year. The article also points out that the NDP's platform is currently projecting the deficit in 2020 to expand from $12.8 billion to $15 billion as a result of the promises, adding that the promises would cost about $2.2 billion in 2020 to 2021, $2 billion in 2021 to 2022, and $2.7 billion in 2022 to 2023. That was a lot of 20s. Now, according to Tri-City News, NDP's plan makes 154 promises to British Columbians. 60 are the new promises, including the one-time recovery benefit of $500 to $1,000 for families and individuals, free public transportation for children under 12, and a rent freeze that lasts until the end of 2021. And also that the recovery benefit alone is expected to cost $1.4 billion. But when it comes to promises from Horgan and his NDP, are British Columbians really holding their breath and basing their votes on it? After all, this is the election that was birthed by Horgan's broken promises to the Green Party when they promised not to call a snap election. And the Green Party was the whole reason, basically, that they came into power.
I am disappointed that this is what John Horgan has chosen to do, and I fully intend to hold him accountable for this decision as we put forward a campaign that will give people an alternative to this style of politics that puts partisanship and party ahead of the well-being and health of British Columbians.
So what is your opinion of this snap election? Do you think it has increased or decreased how many supporters John Horgan has? Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. Here at Rebel News, we bring you the other side of the story, even if it contradicts what the consensus of opinion is in a popularity poll. If you appreciate our independent journalism, you can support us and our ability to keep doing so by heading to helprebelnews.com. We appreciate your support.